Wife stayed out all night and in the morning I left a note saying, "I'm leaving, good luck with your boyfriend." Welcome to Amelia's stories. Stay close because these real tales of love, trust, and betrayal will keep you thinking long after you've heard them. If you're new here, let us know where you're from in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Ethan Parker, a 34-year-old construction manager, had been married to Melissa for 8 years. Life wasn't perfect, but he believed they still had a strong bond. That belief began to crack the night Melissa didn't come home. He sat on the couch with the TV off, listening for the sound of her car pulling into the driveway. Midnight passed. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, still nothing. Ethan tried calling, but her phone went straight to voicemail. His chest felt heavy, but he kept telling himself there had to be some explanation. By dawn, the house was silent, the driveway empty, and his patience gone. Ethan realized this wasn't just a late night. This was proof of what he had been trying to ignore. Instead of shouting or waiting for excuses, Ethan picked up a pen and a scrap of paper. He wrote only one line, "I'm leaving. Good luck with your boyfriend." He folded it, set it on the kitchen counter, and looked around the house one last time. Then he packed a small bag, grabbed his keys, and drove away before she could return. When Ethan thought back to the beginning of his marriage, he remembered laughter in their small apartment, late-night drives with fast food in their laps, and plans that felt bigger than both of them. Melissa used to look at him like he was her whole world. For a while everything was simple. But things started to change slowly in ways that didn't seem serious at first. Melissa began going out with her friends more often. First it was once a month. Then it became every other weekend. Soon, girls' nights out were happening more than the nights they spent together. Ethan noticed other things too. She started guarding her phone, tilting the screen away from him when she typed. If he asked who she was talking to, her answer was always quick, always vague. Melissa claimed she was picking up extra overtime shifts at the hospital. Ethan wanted to believe her, but sometimes she came home late, hair done up, smelling like a bar instead of a hospital. The space between them grew. Their conversations got shorter, their intimacy faded. Ethan tried to bring it up, telling her he felt them slipping apart. She rolled her eyes and brushed him off, saying he was paranoid, controlling, or overthinking. One night, while venting to his best friend Caleb Ross, Ethan heard the words he'd been avoiding. Caleb told him that Melissa's behavior looked bad, like someone hiding something. Still, Ethan pushed down his doubts, choosing trust over suspicion. Ethan could still picture the way Melissa looked when she walked out the door that evening. She wore a short black dress, perfume strong enough to linger in the hallway, and a quick smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just dinner with coworkers," she said, brushing past his question about when she'd be home. At first, Ethan tried to convince himself not to worry. He turned on the TV, scrolled through his phone, and waited. By midnight, his patience thinned. He sent her a text, "Everything okay?" No reply. Another 30 minutes passed. He called, but the line rang until it went to voicemail. By 2 in the morning, frustration and dread mixed inside him. Her phone was now shut off completely. Ethan sat in the quiet living room, staring at the dark driveway through the blinds. Every pair of headlights that passed outside made his chest tighten, but none of them stopped at his house. Hours dragged on, the silence louder than words. By 5 a.m. Ethan wasn't just angry, he was clear. This wasn't the first night she'd chosen someone else over him. It was just the first night she didn't bother hiding it. He didn't pace, didn't plan an argument, didn't prepare to beg for answers. Instead, he made a quiet decision. When the sun rose, there would be no shouting match, no desperate questions. There would only be his choice, sharp and final. In the morning, Ethan would act, not plead. The morning light spilled through the kitchen window as Ethan stood with a folded piece of paper in his hand. His handwriting was steady, almost too neat, as if calmness had taken the place of rage. He set the note down on the counter where Melissa couldn't miss it. There was nothing emotional about the words, nothing to invite a conversation. It was short, final, and left no space for her excuses. Moving quietly through the house, Ethan gathered only what mattered. A small duffel bag filled with a change of clothes. A folder of important papers he had kept tucked away. The roll of cash he had hidden for emergencies. Finally, he slipped off his wedding ring, stared at it for a moment, then placed it on the table beside the note. The house was still, heavy with the silence of everything unsaid. Ethan glanced around one last time, not with regret but with a sense of release. He left his keys next to the ring, a symbol that this chapter was over. Without hesitation he carried his bag outside, locked the door behind him for the last time and walked to his truck. The engine rumbled to life, steady and certain the way he felt inside. He didn't look back at the house as he pulled out of the driveway. By the time Melissa returned, smelling of late nights and cheap perfume, Ethan would already be gone. No confrontation, no waiting, just the silence of his absence. Melissa stumbled through the front door as the late morning sun poured into the house. Her heels clicked unevenly against the floor, and her hair was tangled from the night before. The same black dress she had slipped on hours earlier now hung wrinkled, carrying the mixed scent of alcohol, smoke, and perfume. She dropped her purse onto the couch, kicked off her shoes, and headed for the kitchen. That's when she saw it. A single piece of paper resting on the counter. Her name wasn't even on it, just a line written in Ethan's sharp handwriting. She picked it up, squinting through her haze. The words hit her like ice. She laughed, short and nervous, telling herself Ethan was being dramatic. He had threatened to leave before, hadn't he? This was just another test, another way to guilt her. She set the note down, grabbed a glass of water and tried to shake it off. But as she walked through the bedroom, the truth hit. His side of the closet was empty. Drawers half open, spaces bare. The duffel bag he usually kept by the bed. Gone. That's when her chest tightened. Frantically, Melissa dialed his number. Straight to voicemail. He tried again, then again. Nothing. Her fingers shook as she typed message after message. Where are you? Please call me. We need to talk. Don't do this. It's not what you think. For the first time, Melissa felt real panic. Ethan wasn't bluffing. He was gone. The small coffee shop buzzed with quiet conversations and the clatter of cups, but Ethan barely noticed. He sat at a corner table, calm, steady, waiting. When Melissa walked in, she looked worn down, makeup smeared just enough to show she hadn't slept well. She spotted him instantly and hurried over, sliding into the seat across from him. Tears came quickly. She reached for his hand, but he kept his arms folded. Ethan, I messed up. I've been under so much pressure at work, the long hours, the stress. I wasn't thinking clearly, she stammered, her voice breaking. Ethan's face stayed unreadable. He let her words spill out, excuses, half-hearted apologies, and the same rehearsed lines she had probably practiced in the mirror. He sipped his coffee slowly, letting silence hang heavy between them. Finally, he reached into his jacket and placed a small envelope on the table. Melissa frowned, hesitated, then pulled it open. Her eyes scanned the contents: hotel receipts, time-stamped photos. Proof. The color drained from her face. She didn't even try to deny it. The room seemed to shrink around her as the last layer of defense crumbled. Ethan leaned forward, his voice calm, steady but cutting. I don't want explanations. I want my life back. Melissa's lips parted, but no words came. The space between them was filled with the truth she could no longer hide. Ethan stood, left a few dollars for his coffee and walked out, leaving her trembling in silence. The divorce moved forward quickly and Ethan came prepared. Every receipt, every photo, every piece of evidence was neatly organized and handed to his lawyer. Melissa tried to argue, tried to twist the story, but the proof was stacked too high against her. In the end, the judge favored Ethan. He kept their house, while Melissa was left scrambling for a small apartment she could barely afford. She cornered him outside the courthouse one afternoon, her eyes red, her voice desperate. Ethan, please. I'll change. We can fix this, I promise. Her words shook, but Ethan didn't. He simply looked at her and said nothing, his silence speaking louder than anger ever could. Then he turned and walked away. Later, while piecing together the last details of her betrayal, Ethan finally learned the name of the man she had risked everything for. Tyler Briggs, a married doctor with a reputation to protect. That knowledge settled like a stone in Ethan's chest, but instead of rage he felt clarity. He printed copies of the receipts and photos and slipped them into an unmarked envelope. No note, no threats, just the truth. A few days later, Tyler's wife opened her mail to find the evidence of her husband's double life. Ethan didn't wait for the fallout, but he knew it would come. Melissa had destroyed their marriage, but now the man she had chosen over him would feel the weight of her choices too. The ripple effect came faster than anyone expected. Within weeks of receiving the envelope, Tyler's wife filed for divorce. Word spread quietly at first, then like wildfire through the hospital halls. Tyler's colleagues whispered behind his back, patients requested transfers, and the board began questioning his conduct. Soon his polished image as a respected doctor cracked wide open. He lost custody of his kids and watched his career stall in disgrace. Melissa, who once clung to Tyler as her escape, suddenly found herself alone. He stopped answering her calls, shut her out completely. With Ethan gone and Tyler abandoning her, the walls of her new apartment felt like a cage. Bills piled up, friends drifted away, and her confidence dissolved into desperation. One evening she appeared at Ethan's door. Her voice trembled as she pleaded, "We can fix this, Ethan. We've been together 8 years. That has to mean something." Her eyes searched for the man who once adored her, hoping to find even a sliver of softness. Ethan looked at her for a long moment, calm and steady, the way he had been since the night he left. His words came low and final, "You threw that away in one night. I'm just finishing what you started." Melissa's face crumpled, but Ethan didn't waver. He closed the door, leaving her in the silence of her own choices, while he walked back to the life he was rebuilding, one that no longer included her. Months slipped by, and with them the heaviness that once clung to Ethan's shoulders began to lift. Life no longer revolved around waiting for Melissa's lies or cleaning up the pieces of her choices. Instead, Ethan poured his time into rebuilding the parts of himself he had let fall away during the marriage. He called up old friends, men he hadn't grabbed a beer with in years. Caleb, his best friend, became a constant presence again. Together they spent weekends by the lake, fishing under quiet skies, or out in Caleb's garage, fixing up cars and trading stories until midnight. The simple things brought Ethan peace, the things Melissa had once called boring. One afternoon, while running errands, Ethan wandered into a small bookstore downtown. The owner, Hannah Mitchell, greeted him with a warm smile. She had kind eyes and an easy laugh, and their conversation flowed effortlessly. It started with book recommendations, then small chats every time he stopped by. Soon their talk stretched longer, carrying a quiet comfort Ethan hadn't felt in years. He wasn't looking for romance, and Hannah never pushed for more. It was simply friendship, steady, genuine, and free of lies. Still, each time he left the shop, he noticed the weight in his chest had grown lighter. For the first time in a long time, Ethan felt like he was breathing again. The chains of betrayal were gone, replaced by a sense of freedom he had almost forgotten was possible. The knock at Ethan's door came late in the evening, sharp and frantic. When he pulled back the curtain, he wasn't surprised to see Melissa standing there, her face streaked with tears, hair a mess, and her voice breaking as she called his name. She begged him to open the door, saying she couldn't live with the silence anymore. Ethan stepped out onto the porch, arms crossed, the cool night air circling around them. Melissa dropped to her knees, clutching at his jeans, her words tumbling over each other. "Please, Ethan, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I can't lose you. I need you." Her sobs echoed across the quiet street. For a moment he simply studied her, the woman who had once been his whole world. But she wasn't that woman anymore, and he wasn't the same man who had loved her blindly. His voice was steady, almost gentle when he finally spoke. "Melissa, the man you cheated with isn't here. Neither am I. You're talking to a ghost of who I was." She looked up at him, eyes wide, searching for some crack in his resolve. There was none. Ethan turned, walked back inside, and shut the door with finality. Her sobs carried into the night, but they no longer belonged to him. Not long after, Ethan's truck rolled down the road, windows lowered, the wind rushing in. For the first time in years he felt light, finally at peace, finally free.